What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Final Fantasy Entertainment and Podcast Network, Final Fan TV. This is Final Fantasy Reviewed and Ranked. It's a brand new series on Final Fan TV. The whole concept of this video series is a party of Final Fantasy fans will discuss mainline Final Fantasy games, sharing our personal experiences with the game and giving our overall reviews. And at the end of the episodes, we will rank these games in the overall series. And maybe a couple little extra rankings such as the OST, which is also going to be a very fun ranking part of the show as well. But in between, we will also be giving out awards, and more on that in just a second. To my right is Lainey. Marie, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Thank you so much for being part of the show.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Can you introduce yourself and to anybody who may not know who Lainey is?
Okay. So I am Lainey Marie, aka Lainey. I am a Twitch streamer from Sydney, Australia, and I focus a lot on JRPGs, retro games. Final Fantasy is my favorite series. I also like to do challenge runs with certain Final Fantasies here and there. And I have been streaming for about 6 years now, and it's been so much fun sharing nostalgia and love for retro games and JRPGs. It's my bubble. I just love it so much.
Awesome. Well, that's how I discovered your content was through you did an all-white mage challenge. Recently.
That was a time.
And then over to the right of Lainey is Genesis 7.
Hello.
How you doing?
How's everybody doing? I'm doing fantastic. So, for those that don't know, I'm Jen. You can call me Genesis 7, whatever floats your boat. Primarily on YouTube, and I'm based around Final Fantasy, but I'm branching out to other RPGs. I'm tinkling my toes in JRPGs I've missed because I was a Sega guy growing up, so I missed a plethora of classics. And been streaming on Twitch for a year now, and it's the same boat. If you want to experience someone playing through a classic JRPG you might be a fan of, probably your guy.
Love that. That's awesome. And to the right of Genesis is Dr. Molt.
Hello, I'm Robert. I am very different than the three people who have preceded me because I have absolutely no Final Fantasy content to offer the rest of the community. I am purely a consumer, but I am such a diehard fan of FFTV because they bring the hype that I don't have to wonder where my red mage is at when we're talking about an FF review. I don't have to worry about, are we going to talk about how much we all like swords? I know FFTV is going to bring a good time, and so I have been privileged to participate now and again and just share my exuberance in this context. So thank you for letting some random physics nerd get to talk about what he loves.
Dude, it's awesome to have you. That's why you're here, man, because you bring that energy, you bring the excitement. I love that. And then we go.
Well, I don't bring any FF content, so I better bring something.
You bring the FF fandom, man. All right, and then to the right of Dr. Molt is Wiley. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, guys? Pretty good, man. Pretty good. Appreciate that. Yeah, my name's Wiley. The JD Wiley on Twitter. Mostly just art is what you're going to see from me for right now. Am having a good time with the Reviewed and Ranked series. We got some surprises coming up that I probably shouldn't talk about, so I won't. But yeah, I am a game dev. Do game dev, and I can't talk about that too much either. So, yeah, without further ado, I'll just pass it back.
It sounds like people should go follow you on Twitter. You get to keep up with what you got when you can talk about it. The art that you saw in the thumbnail and in the starting soon screen, that is actually from JD Wiley. So I love your art, man. But most of all, it's been just awesome to work with you on this. So me and JD Wiley have been kind of teaming up for this Final Fantasy Reviewed and Ranked series as JD Wiley has provided the story recap when we get to that point in the show. So I can't thank you enough for that. And of course, the thumbnail art. So I would like to get started with this. You guys ready for the Final Fantasy 1 reviewed and ranked?
Do it.
What
Let's
I'm going to
go.
do. Let's go. There it is. Come on, man.
Ready as a
Come
fighter.
on.
All right, so I'm going to start this off some cool facts, all right, about Final Fantasy 1. I think that would be really cool to kind of just give you some baseline facts right off the bat. This was obviously developed by Square, back when they were just called Square. And this is the director of Hironobu Sakaguchi, the father of Final Fantasy. This game was released in Japan December 18th, 1987. And in North America, July 12th, 1990. Here comes cool facts for you. Sakaguchi wanted to make an RPG, but Square executives did not believe in this project. They did not believe it would be successful. They wanted to continue on to create more mainstream games, and they had Sakaguchi become the leader of his own team called Team A, but they were working on a racing project, a racing game. Sakaguchi convinced Koichi Ishii to start work on the concept of what would be this RPG. The goal was to dethrone Dragon Quest, which was a budding game in Japan, right? It was very successful with Dragon Quest 1 and 2, and it was able to kind of somewhat convince Square that this could actually be something. The RPG genre at this point was in its infancy. Brand new kind of thing here going on. When development began in full swing, it was a very risky decision that even the team was nervous that this project would not be a success. There was no way to tell that. But despite the risk, this was Sakaguchi's dream, and he and his team were determined to see it through. He made a commitment to himself that if this game was not a success upon release, then he would go back and find a different career choice. Crazy to think, right, guys? I mean, this could have been the last Final Fantasy. They could have released this game and now it's it. We didn't get anything after that. So that right there, the fact that the stakes were so high for this, and this is like, now you can kind of get that feeling for this game, that this game is so important. Now, quick note, because you might have heard from, other places or anywhere around the internet, because it was a strong rumor for a long time until it was debunked. But Final Fantasy was not named Final Fantasy because it was going to be Sakaguchi or Square's final project. It wasn't going to be their Final Fantasy. But it was named that because Sakaguchi just really wanted the initials of FF or Phi-Fan or something like that, because Dragon Quest was often referred to as DQ or Dragque or something like that. I don't know. But he wanted that, and he settled on Fighting Fantasy. That was what they wanted to call this game, Fighting Fantasy. And that had the Phi-Fan, but it was already taken, so they decided to go with Final Fantasy, which still gives you the Phi-Fan. Which
I'm glad that was already taken.
The more I was like, Fighting Fantasy is actually kind of cool. I like that though. I kind of like it.
I mean, it is, but I mean, at this, yeah. Final Fantasy, come on.
So, let's get two more quick notes here. Fun fact, because I got this information from watching, you guys go check this out if you haven't already. Final Fantasy Union has a great video up about the complete history of Final Fantasy. So I watched this one, and this part stood out to me. So when the game was pretty much complete, Square wanted to produce 200,000 copies of this game, and Sakaguchi got so mad that he was offended that he took the game to other publishers to see if he can get to publish more copies, to produce more copies. Square found out about it, but didn't react the way you think they would react. They actually took that as like, oh, this man's very passionate about this game. We're going to compromise and give him 400,000 copies. So, like, it's so crazy that he didn't get any disciplinary action. It's like, you know what? You must really believe in this project. And the last little fun fact for you, but it just so happens to be hugely important to this entire franchise. The prelude for this game was created in 30 minutes! As Sakaguchi came in and told Nobuo Uematsu that he had 30 minutes to create a song for the title screen. And so Uematsu had to scramble to get it done. But yeah, there you go. There's also 9, I think, versions of this game. And I won't list them all out, but it started with the NES and it's been everywhere. But it's been everywhere, including the Game Boy Advance with Dawn of Souls. It went over to the PSP with the 20th anniversary edition, and they did a lot of changes there. It's been on the PS1 with Final Fantasy Origins, and just recently with the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster. Woo! So there you go. There's some fun facts for you. Anything standing out to you guys on that one?
Oh, creating the prelude in 30 minutes, that I didn't actually know. That is impressive.
Very cool.
Stuck this whole time. That's wild.
Yeah, and it's gone on to become like in every Final Fantasy after, and it's just so huge. Yeah, it was 30 minutes. And that's wild. So what I want to do to start off this is going to be the review portion of this. So what I'd like to do is go around here and get your kind of snapshot review of Final Fantasy 1. Now, of course, we're not looking at this game with a critical eye. We're not looking at this game to give you a, oh man, this is what they did wrong. This is, all this other stuff. This is going to be kind of more of a celebration. So the review is more of like a retrospective or whatever you want to call it. You feel free, though. Do not shy away from any kind of criticisms that you have, of course. Please let that be known, because it could also affect the rankings and everything like that later on. But go ahead and let's get the snapshot review from Lainey.
All right, so my experience with Final Fantasy 1, I chose the Pixel Remaster, and I was very happy when they came out. And as short as the game felt, I had such an amazing time with it. It was nice to see where it all started, because I had played the other Final Fantasies before this one. And a while later, I thought to myself, how's it going to go playing with only white mages, and see how that goes? And that definitely made me appreciate the gameplay a lot more. As fun and challenging as it was, I don't think I'll do it again anytime soon. But honestly, it was just, as I said, just nice to see where it all began, and having that classic turn base and hearing songs that I've heard in other Final Fantasies. Like I know with Final Fantasy 14, there's a lot of references to 1 as well, and that was sort of nice to make that connection. So overall, I had such a blast with it, and it's, it was a great time.
Awesome. So the White Mage Challenge, did that come across as in, like, you heard about the challenge and you wanted to do it, or you kind of set your own difficulty?
Yeah, I was just, I'd see things around on Twitter, and I'm like, I mean, it's a shortish game, so it might not be that bad. But it was definitely, there was some tough challenges with that, especially with only being able to do 2 hit points at a time. I had all the healing spells in the world, but chipping away at bosses, that took so long. Definitely hurt a bit. But it made the victory sweeter when we finally did take the bosses down. And when I was live streaming it, I had suggestions. Lainey, why don't you do an all black mage challenge? And I thought, oh my gosh, that's going to be even harder, only relying on potions. But that's what I love about these kind of challenges, because it makes you really think of what you need to use and what you need to rely on, what you won't be able to use or buy or anything like that. So that's what I love about games like this, that you can really push the boundaries. It doesn't have to be just, the jobs, only the separate jobs that they offer you can do. You can try all warriors if you want, or white mages or black mages or anything like that. So that's what makes it so fun for me with these games.
Awesome. So Jen, your review snapshot.
I think it's important to note, much like Lainey, I played other Final Fantasies first. So I played 7, 8, 9, 10, and then here in the UK, I don't know about the rest of the world, but we got Origins around, I'd like to say 2001, 2002, maybe, I think it came out. So that was my first experience. Just here, look, I'm just going to flash that off there.
Yeah, you are.
horrible load times, by the way, for that particular version. But that was my first experience, so I was interested to see what Final Fantasy had stemmed from. Played it very much like could not get on with it at first, but I think that's just more of a reality check of like, this is an old game. This was made in the late 80s. But it wasn't until the PSP version, the 20th anniversary edition, where I really just kind of explored it. And it might be to do with the fact that the MP system was reintroduced and maybe shop prices were a little bit cheaper. But I managed to get all the way through. No, it was a fantastic experience. But then obviously the Pixel Remaster is the latest version that's come out, which has now made the game accessible for everyone on all platforms. And that's the most true to form version of Final Fantasy 1, I would like to think. Because I've never played the NES. Will I ever play the NES? I don't know. But the Pixel Remaster version was a good experience as well. I've not done a White Mage challenge. I don't think I will.
You shouldn't.
But,
like I said, fun, but never again.
never again. Well, I think in a nutshell, Final Fantasy 1 is just a good experience. It's just a nice little adventure, not too long at all. You can get it done within like 10 hours. Just make sure you're speaking to those NPCs, because they do tell you where you need to go, because it doesn't do a very good job of letting you know where to go. But for Final Fantasy 1's a good one, for sure.
Dr. Molt.
FF1 set the stage for a lifelong addiction to Final Fantasy. And that is coming from the NES version. I played the NES version of this to death as a little boy. It was glorious. Every other NES game cannot compare, because this had legit replayability. I could go through and do all of the combinatorial options for different party members. That's amazing. That was stupendous. Every other bloody NES game that I had could not offer that kind of an experience, or such length, or such strategy. FF1, I recognize, if you are, coming to it after being like, a PlayStation era person or whatever, I get that it might be difficult. I do. And I made sure to play the iOS version just before doing this particular program. But for me, the NES version always has a special place, that this defined why Final Fantasy is better than other options. The replayability was through the roof compared to anything else. I really adored the game. And moreover, I think one of the coolest things about it is the difficulty. The difficulty of the NES version is a lot greater than some of the subsequent versions, where, I'm sorry, you guys are cheating if you get to use MP like, normal FF games. The costs of things, oh my gosh, the brutal grind to have enough money in shops.
Yep.
The resource conservation that you had to play, this taught me all the skills for how to play an FF game, that as I went on in the franchise, everything else just seemed really easy by comparison. Just because I learned that real terror is going through the ice cave and having a million stupid enemies that just one-hit kill you, not because of damage, but just because you have to save constantly, you have to conserve resources. It's awesome for what it set the stage to. A for me, B for the franchise. FF1 was a great experience for me. I encourage people to, even if you're a modern gamer, I'm not going to say that you want to sit and spend 1 million hours on this, say, compared to like FF7 or, FF10 or something. But it's worth it to get to know this was the childhood for so many of us that allowed us to branch forward and be like, FF is awesome.
Awesome. I love that, man. I love that little, you get the retro NES perspective here. That was great. Genesis provides the PSP. Oh, man, this is good stuff. So now we go over to Wiley.
Oh, it was my third Final Fantasy. I started with 6, which was 3 on the SNES. Then I played 2, which was 4 on the SNES. And I found out about this one, and I'm like, all right, I got to get this. I got to try this. It was rough. It was so rough. Like, compared to those other games, I mean, you had, like he said, you had to grind so much. Mm-hmm. You had to get so much gil. You know, I mean, you get that ship and you think, oh, I'm going to take off. I'm going to see everything. Nope. You're going to get crushed. You better save it. Like, it was an interesting experience. Yeah, it definitely caught me off guard. So I will say that it brought some stuff that I wasn't expecting. So when you get that class upgrade, right, from Bahamut, I was blown away by that. I'm like, okay, this isn't in the other 2 that I played. This is really cool. Like, the characters change. This is great. You know? Mm-hmm. I played it on PS1 also, and I just replayed the Pixel Remaster with my daughter, and she loved it so much. We're playing number 2 Pixel Remaster right now. But yeah, like, I've had a really good experience with it. I love monks, man. They're so cheap, and you get some levels, and they just steamroll. I love that. Like, I have played through with the party composition that includes every different character type. I probably played it about 5 times. But the monk, I mean, especially if you're not using boosts or cheats, it's pretty much mandatory, right? Like, those shop prices are crazy.
And I beg pardon that my experience is going to be fundamentally different than a lot of you guys. A, because of the difficulty, but also straight up certain jobs were just broken.
Oh yeah,
the NES version. Yep. Like, they had no, like, pretty much the Thief has no redeeming qualities at all.
A lot of the gameplay systems are actually not, and they're not working properly.
Right, like, some of the spells legit did nothing.
It's been 35 years and they haven't pushed a patch yet. Like, come on. So, I played the Pixel Remaster version of this game. I started with Dawn of Souls back when I was a kid, and just like I think it was Jen who said that it wasn't clicking for him. It wasn't clicking for me either. But it's like just kind of going through the motions with the game. Playing the Pixel Remaster, I've kind of come up with this. I've developed this whole new sense of appreciation for it. It was a much more enjoyable experience than I was anticipating going back to a game like this. But the Pixel Remaster allows for players to use boosts, such as increasing the percentage of gil that you that it gets dropped after battles. You can increase the XP after battles. You can even turn off battles completely if you want to. But for this review, and for all other reviews in this series, for this one as well, I did not utilize any of those boosts, and I did not watch any guide videos. I did not watch any walkthroughs or anything like that, because I want to take these games and play them to the best I can to get the closest experience the developers intended. So that's how I've been playing these games. I'm not using any of the boosts from the Pixel Remaster. And as far as story goes, I think it's an awesome setting to have the world already plunged in darkness and overrun with monsters. I think that's pretty great. The game does a wonderful job of making me feel like the hero, to make me feel like a legend that is like prophesized, and everybody is rejoicing when I walk into town. It was cool. Townfolk were just telling you what to do. You have to talk to everybody in this game. I think that's what Molt says earlier. You do really have to talk to everybody. They also provide you with some cool history about this world, talking about the events that happened to cause the world to get plunged into darkness and all this other stuff. I think that was really cool. So it gave me a sense of ownership of this story, especially at the end. We're going to get to that in a minute as well. But yeah, battle system. I enjoyed how this game forced me to manage my status effects. This game loves status effects, and they love doing it, and they love giving you a limited amount of gil and a limited amount of like potions and antidotes and all that other stuff that you need. And what that created for me was a sense of dread going into dungeons, right? So like before you enter a dungeon, you have to like, am I ready? Like, am I ready for this? And I think for me, that was awesome. And you go in there, you almost mandatory to do a little level grinding outside of each dungeon that you approach. Do a little level grinding, if only for an hour. You get some, or 30 minutes, whatever. Get some levels up, get some gil, go buy some antidotes, stock up. And if you talk to the people in town, I'm pretty sure they even inform you, like, hey, if you're walking into there, better bring some antidotes. So they're giving you heads up. I think that's really, really cool, because the dungeons are maze-like. They are, they're twisty. For every fork in the path, you are more anxiety. You're just like, well, if I go down this path, is it going to lead to something great? Or is it going to lead me to a treasure? Am I going to regret going down both of these paths anyways because I got to do it? You know, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get 100% in this dungeon. I'm going to go through every little nook and cranny of this dungeon. And I do it. But man, this game, it is unrelenting in that sense. And I like that. But it also can be very easy if you level grind the crap out of it. And then you can breeze by it. But I didn't do that. I kind of wanted to experience the challenge of the game. So I would level grind a little bit until the point where I'm like, I can go in. And it's going to be tough, but I can make it through. And that's just like Final Fantasy 1 not holding your hand. Like, that was something I literally highlighted in my notes. This game does not hold your hand. And I like that about Final Fantasy 1. Right off the start, you don't know where to go. Like, you could make a wrong turn on the world map and you're running into some enemies that are just going to absolutely wreck you. Just demolish you. And you're just like, well, learn my lesson there. You know what I mean? Or you walk into a dungeon thinking you're all big and bad, but no, you're not ready. And I like that. I like that. So that was cool. As far as music goes, I'm going to talk about the Pixel Remaster here because it is incredible. The Pixel Remaster soundtrack enhances the experience tremendously. I'm pretty sure I was watching Lainey, your recap. You pretty much did what I did. You stop in every little new location and you just sit there and listen. You're like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah.
And you're so good. It makes you appreciate this game even more than I think if you tried to play this any other version of the game. You would probably, you're just like, oh, this is some good music. But man, the Pixel Remaster is like, this is good music. So I would say the Pixel Remaster it enhances this experience. And it also puts those soundtracks of Final Fantasy 1 through 6, but we're going to keep it to Final Fantasy 1, but it puts it in contention with other OSTs, like in this, you know what I mean? Like, so if you ever had thought about this before the Pixel Remasters, Final Fantasy 1 through, Final Fantasy 1 would have never made it into your top 5, right? But this is like, oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. This might make it up there. So, as far as visuals go, I prefer the PSP edition of this game, the 20th anniversary edition. It makes the world feel more alive because you can actually see God rays coming in from the sun, like boom, hitting the grass. You can see the shadows from the clouds casted on the ground as they move across the ground. It just feels alive. So I like the PSP version of this game visually. But of course, the Pixel Remaster is obviously very beautiful as well. And if you appreciate pixel games, this is, and it's extremely faithful to the NES to like kind of recreate the NES sprites to look like this. And it looks great on a 65-inch 4K TV. It still looks great for being a pixel game. So closing thoughts on this is I would say I could not recommend any of the versions that my panel has played besides the Pixel Remaster. I think as we talked about with the NES, launching with some, like it still has the issues. They haven't pushed the patch. There's no issues in Pixel Remaster. It's got quality of life. improvements across the board. You can even mess with all those boosts I told you about if you want an easier experience and just kind of go through the motions and stuff like that. But the Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster, I could recommend it easily today. So there you go. That's my review of this game. So as Wiley does his story recap, at any point, the panel can jump in and say, hey, really like this part of the game, or this part I have to talk about. Anything like that. Now, they also might jump in and say, this is my award nominee. And you might be like, what does that mean? So let me explain that to you now. So this entire series is building up. The idea of this is going to be building up to an award show, a Final Fantasy award show at the end of it, hosted by Final Fan TV. I want to try to blow this thing up as big as a small channel like Final Fan TV can, right? I want to make it seem like it's really important. So what we're doing as a panel is we are going to bring award nominees to the table, and then those nominees will go to you to vote on. So be sure to follow on Twitter at Final Fan TV for that information. I'll also post it in the description, where you'll go follow a link and you'll vote to make sure if we have multiple nominees for one category, you will vote that down to one nominee to represent Final Fantasy 1 in the award show. So when we get to the award show and we have something like the category for best level design, there will essentially be 16 nominees, and you will be able to also vote on that to bring that to the to that. So that's the idea of this show, is to culminate to the award show at the end. So with that being said, take it away, Wiley.
All right, so we're just going to open up with a couple of one-sentence breakdowns, and then we're going to dive right in. In a world engulfed by darkness, 4 young warriors seek out the power of the legendary crystals to restore balance and defeat the malevolent forces threatening their realm. Or, 4 strangers polish their rock collection to prevent a time-traveling embodiment of chaos from pressing rewind. Again. All right. So,
that was beautiful, man. That was beautiful.
Thank you. But before the adventure begins, players are given agency. So the game's party consists of 4 heroes, known as the Warriors of Light. They're nameless and classless. We get to name them and choose between 6 character classes: Warrior, Thief, Monk or Black Belt, Red Mage, White Mage, Black Mage. Each has unique capabilities, and duplicate classes are allowed. This agency over the party composition foreshadows a meta theme that will return throughout the game, including in the ending. Final Fantasy begins with a short prologue. World lies shrouded in darkness. The winds die, the seas rage, the earth decays. But the people believe in a prophecy, patiently awaiting its fulfillment. When darkness veils the world, 4 warriors of light shall come. After a long journey, 4 young travelers did at last appear, and in the hand of each was clutched a crystal. We arrive at Cornelia Castle and learn that the king is looking for the warriors from the sage Lucan's prophecy. So in the Chaos Shrine, we pass a few locked doors before catching Garland monologuing over Sarah's unconscious body. With his back to the party, he kindly reveals his plan to ransom the princess for the kingdom of Cornelia. Music is epic, but the battle is quick. Upon defeating Garland, they accompany Sarah back to Cornelia Castle, where the king reveals the prophecy in full. When darkness veils the world, 4 warriors of light shall come. If they cannot gather the shards of light, then darkness will consume all. So then the king charges us to restore light to all 4 crystals, ridding the realm of the monsters once and for all. Princess Sarah hands over a lute, telling us it may come in handy. And if you're like me, you spent the next 10 hours wondering when and where the lute was going to be used before forgetting about it completely.
Just this whole section at the beginning of the game, since we're about to move on to the next part. Essentially, what has happened in this opening is what you'd expect from the story of a whole game. Mm-hmm. Like, save the princess, bring her back, and it all happens it can happen within 5-10 minutes. So you really like, what's next? Like,
yeah, that's exactly what my mindset was. Like, okay, we've done all this. What else can happen? Like, and that's what I kept thinking, and that was the really cool part of it.
Yeah, so the king sends his men to rebuild the bridge, allowing the party to continue the quest. As we cross the bridge, we're treated to an epic shot of the party looking back over the water toward the town and castle of Cornelia. And then you get that sweet, sweet theme music, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I got so emotional during that.
Also, it's just mad how iconic this scene is. It's from the first Final Fantasy, and if you talk to any fan of Final Fantasy that has gone and experienced other games, regardless of where they started, like, they will recognize this image, and they will think the music, the main theme of Final Fantasy each and every time. Mm-hmm. And they've reused this kind of like imagery before, like they did it with Final Fantasy IV, and they've done it with a few other games as well. And I just think if you were to explain, in my view, what Final Fantasy is, this image, it's just a party of characters going on an adventure.
And I got, this is a good point for me as well to present my first award. Okay, so I'm bringing out the first award right here. For best music in this game.
Oh.
So I had a hard time because I thought Prelude, I thought opening theme, the final battle, right? And we're going to get to that in a second. The final battle in the Pixel remaster. But that's a personal preference. That appeals to me, and I love it so very, very much. But if we're going for the true answer of this, what is the best music in this game? I gotta present the award to the main theme. This theme that plays right here. This is even Nobuo Uematsu told IGN, quote, "I think it's the most important song in terms of everything I've ever done," end quote. And, quote, "the song I'd like to be remembered by," end quote. I mean, if he's saying that, how could I go against it? You know what I mean? How could I say anything other than this theme? So I gotta go, I gotta go with the main theme here.
Make me want to change my nomination.
You made me change my nomination. Yes. All right. So there you go. I'm going to put that in right here. Wiley, go ahead and take it away with some more of the story. No.
My best music.
Absolutely, you can.
Here too. So my answer's cheap in a sense. It's a product of its time, but This game is defined for me by the NES experience. Believe it or not, I am going to go with the simple town theme of this game. I'm not going to pretend for a moment that it's especially creative or remarkable as an absolute statement of the quality of the music. I think if you're going to make an argument about what is the best musically, I think that the right answer is probably the overworld theme, because it goes somewhere, it's dynamic. But relative to its time, Levels had music in NES games, and it was what it was. I don't think that the music meaningfully matched much of anything in the vast majority of NES games. But this was kind of an there would always be aggressive music, and here's a boss fight, or there's going to be here's a level, so we got to have some doo 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 rah rah music. The alternation, we don't just need music to be badass. We don't just need music to be aggressive or adventurous. No, we can access other parts of the human experience, and we're going to do that. I got to give it to the town theme, partially as a reflection of where this game is in its history.
So we have the bridge fixed, and so their quest began.
Yes, okay. So, the witch Matoya lives in a cave due north of Cornelia. Unfortunately, she can't see anything without her crystal eye. The brooms in her cave seem sing odd lyrics, frontwards, backwards, any way you see. Such a strange spell to swish, swishery. The phrase is the key to understanding the strange gibberish they speak. They're all speaking backwards. Their suggestions aren't meant for the party, but rather for the player. More meta nods. And the most notable is the secret mini-game that they teach you how to unlock. And that was the first mini-game. Did everybody try that mini-game on their playthrough? Everybody find that mini-game? Yeah, okay.
I didn't find it, no.
Oh.
I want to now.
It's just a puzzle game. It's pretty unremarkable, to be honest.
It's like, aren't you you're moving the tiles around to get it to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way. Yeah. So you have to move the tiles around to make it match up in order. Yeah. It's kind of it's interesting. It's the first mini game. I'm like, it just shows that Final Fantasy 1 had mini games, you know? So where it's kind of a tradition that stays true throughout the whole series.
Absolutely.
Also,
so then we.
Sorry,
go ahead, Jen.
Matoya's Cave music. I'm not gonna. It's not a nomination, but it's quite a bop, especially the Pixel remaster version.
Yeah, and Matoya as a character, also. I mean, come on, there's a good supporting character nomination right there too. Like that's on my list. If other people say my first pick, then I'll throw that one in there. But as a character,
she was in the running. She lost for me, but I acknowledge Matoya was in the running.
Because
She was actually mine. I really enjoyed her dialogue. I thought her sassiness and her, like, as soon as I saw her, because in comparison to other games, like, I have seen her in Final Fantasy 14, so I was looking forward to seeing her in Final Fantasy 1. And when she's, wandering around like, I can't see without my blasted eye, like, I just found her very funny, and I just wanted to chat to her more, even though she was a bit rude to me, but she just made me laugh quite a lot, and I enjoyed my interactions with her.
That's good.
Yeah, so she would be my best. There was a few going around in my head. I'm like, all right, I'm going to pick Matoya.
You do also have to interact with her quite a bit, all right? You got to go back to her too, so that's all right. I like that pick.
Yeah,
it's a good choice.
All right, so we go back to the story.
All right. So, and we make our way east to the port city of Pravoka. Townsfolk complain of pirates and beg the party for help. The pirate lord Bike sicks 2 pirate henchmen at his side on the party.
The 2 pirates disappear, and Bike gives you a ship.
He gives you a ship, yes. Cue the epic fanfare. We get our first major means of transportation, and, the world is our oyster. So, taking the newly commandeered ship, we set sail for the city of Elfheim. And here, the townsfolk all resemble a certain character from an action RPG of the same era. One of the tombstones. Yeah. Yep.
I was just about to mention.
Dead. Ganon got him.
Did you guys see the tombstone? Here lies Link.
In a certain, I don't know what version of Final Fantasy 1, but it's not Link, but it's Erdrick from obviously the first 3 Dragon Quest games.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah. I think it's the NES version and the original NES version. So it goes back to what I said at the top of the show during the fun facts, whereas Final Fantasy was meant to be something that dethrones Dragon Quest. So this was kind of a fun little, like, here lies Erdrick. Yeah. Got him.
Yeah. So the townsfolk in Elmheim talk of an abandoned castle to the west, and of friendly dwarves in a cave even further west. In the castle, we learn that Astos, the dark elf, has stolen the castle's treasure and cursed the prince, who's been asleep for 5 years now. There's also a rumor about a witch, Matoya, who can brew medicine to rouse the prince. Wandering the castle, we discover more locked doors. And apparently, word of the Warriors of Light travels fast, and the merchants and shopkeepers in Elfheim hiked up their prices accordingly. This is that first grind spot. It was for me. Every time was Elfheim.
Grinding against the Gigas enemies.
Silver Sword. It's all about Silver Sword.
So this is also the perfect time to explore. So we can sail north, visit Mount Dorger, with the dwarves. Lally ho. They have Lally ho. Yeah,
that was not the original NES version. I'm glad to see in the iOS version they added that though.
Yeah, a lot of dwarves like to say that. I'll tell you that. They have an unreasonable amount of gil lying around in unlocked chests, and this is a good time.
Unreasonable.
Yes. There's a smith named Smith who wants a chunk of the legendary metal adamantite to make a magical sword. Another dwarf tells us about Levistone and how it makes things float in the air. And another says that a dark elf stole Matoya's crystal eye. Apparently this dark elf guy's a real Astos.
It's time for dad jokes. Yeah, there it is. It's time for dad jokes. They still have Christmas decorations up in Cornelia.
Oh, no.
Did you know that? They're still waiting for the Warriors of Light to take down Garland. You know what I'm saying? Genesis.
Okay.
Cornelia was attacked by a monster because everyone thought it was just a turkey. It's probably because it was a goblin.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
This has been Dad Jokes.
Northwest of Elfheim, we find the abandoned castle, the Western Keep. A lone king sits on the throne. Apparently, Astos deceived him and his castle fell into ruin. However, we retrieve his missing crown from the marsh cave to the south. The castle can be restored to its former state. We make our way through the wetlands to find a massive hole in the ground. Spiders, snakes, slime, scorpions, and more will attempt to poison the party in every single encounter. At least that's how it feels.
Like I said, man, this game loves their status effects.
Yeah, this dungeon is one of the most brutal, I think, personally, just for the poison.
This
alone.
was the marsh cave, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what that was.
Marsh cave,
to me, I would say it's the first real difficulty spike.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing this without having Silverthorn, personally, but...
Yeah, this hurt a lot on White Mage.
Hurt a lot on White Mage.
I think it's also really tough in that you have such limited funds. Getting potions is not trivial. Just choosing what is the right number of potions I'm going to buy versus antidotes is something that would very much wreck me. That there's a fair amount of luck in terms of how often you'll get poisoned. It's amazing how much, like, when you see the spiders that are blue in the NES version versus green, the green ones will pretty much poison you every time. The blue ones almost never will. And it's just a lot of luck. And I remember each time I would go through this dungeon, there was no right answer about, I'd run out of antidotes, I have too many potions, or vice versa. And it's a pretty big difference between them for the resource conservation, because you kind of had to pick carefully given limited funds.
Oh, yeah. And then you had to make it back out after you made it all the way in. And then we return to the Western Keep for a plot twist. King reveals himself to be Astos, the scumbag elf we've been hearing so much about. And now, with the crown and the crystal eye, he can become the true Elf King. Cue the epic boss music. So this guy is my nomination for best character. Yeah,
best
supporting
character.
Supporting character.
Yeah.
Like that.
Also mine.
Whoa! All right, so let's hear from Wiley. Why is this one your best?
I mean, this guy provides a major plot twist. He's also everywhere. Everyone is complaining about this guy. You don't hear people complaining about Garland everywhere, but somehow this guy has, just plagued people across multiple regions, right? He stole Matoya's eye. He cursed the prince. He took over this castle. He sends you on a mission to go get a crown and then reveals that, hey, I'm like the mastermind behind all this. This guy really is kind of top tier in terms of villains in my mind.
Nice. This one, you would even put him above Garland in Chaos?
I mean,
he's like, look, man, I don't know. I got more quests with this guy.
I'm going to give him best supporting character.
Yeah.
I don't know if he, overall, I don't know if he's better than Garland, because the plot twist that comes with that is pretty cool too. But I like this guy. I like him as a villain, right?
So
especially because especially because that marsh cave is so hard. So hard.
Yeah.
Give him the crown and he's like, yeah, psych, like I'm the bad guy.
Is this the final dungeon? What is going on?
Yeah, like as a kid I was so mad. I'm like, I did all that work and this guy like is the bad guy? Like, come on.
All right, so that was your best supporting character, Dr. Molt. Also, your best supporting character.
Yeah, the reasons stated, as well as two other minutia. One being that when he cast Fire 2, your party was going to suffer a lot. This is, in my opinion, the first boss that you fight in the game of any real consequence. I mean, like, it's not that hard to defeat Garland. This guy will wreck you. And there's also a fair amount of luck that, I mean, if he just decides to spam Fire 2 on you, you're kind of, dead.
Yeah.
The very minor other reason, this is really reaching, but nonetheless on my mind. If any of you were big fans of watching Captain and the Game Master as children, which was one of those beautiful little video game cartoons that existed before they all kind of died for a long period of time, the one episode of that show that dealt with Final Fantasy featured Astos the Dark Elf. So
that's cool.
Your reference point there.
That's cool. I like that. All right, back to the story recap.
All right. With Toya's eye in hand, we make the long voyage back to her cave. In exchange for the eye, Matoya hands over the most prized potion in her collection, Jolt Tonic. Take this to the healer in Elfheim, and the prince wakes up, embraces his duty to pass on the mystic key to its rightful owners. Yep, us. And you know what that means? Side quest time.
Can't just raid his body.
Can't just
so
he had the key on him. This is
the Warriors of
Light.
Light.
Just raided his body while he was sleeping. Okay.
Now you can unlock every door, and we've passed so many doors and so many places by this point that have been locked. And yeah, all those can be open.
Yep. So it allows you to do some backtracking here, almost like a Metroidvania. So this is kind of cool. I like that, where you saw the doors locked at first, and then you're like, how do I get in there? And now you have the key, and you're like, oh, sweet.
Directly west of the canal lies the city of Melmond. Mm-hmm. Vampire attacked, destroying the church and leaving the city in shambles. Une? Yeah. He has an interest in Lufenian, a dead language used by the ancient sky people. So we head to the Cavern of Earth and descend. Eventually...
Yeah, the story's getting interesting here, right? Like now we're talking about, wait, what? Lufenians and sky people? What is this?
Seek the giant who eats rocks and feed him the star ruby. Proceed through to the sage's cave, and Sada tells us that the vampire was merely a servant, and that the beast corrupting the crystal lurks much deeper within the cavern. He offers the earth rod, which can open the blocked passageway. So we return to the cave, travel deep underground, till we reach a room with a glowing amber orb and a massive crystal floating above the altar of earth. Crystal hangs devoid of light. Lich, the fiend of earth, appears, attacks, and we get brand new theme music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the first time we've seen a crystal. It's kind of cool.
Yes. Yeah. With Lich defeated, the power of the earth again flows forth from the altar, and the crystal regains its glow, as does the corresponding crystal held by the Warriors of Light. Time to explore again. Far to the east, a town called Crescent Lake overlooks crescent-shaped lake. And the merchants must have known the Warriors of Light were coming, because the prices for weapons and spells just went up again.
So here we go. My choice for best level design. Mount Gog is my choice for best level design. First of all, as you can see, let me go back to main the focus real quick. When it comes to level design, I'm looking at the artistic vision of it. I'm looking at how well it's laid out, how well the gameplay is, and like what are the little quirks with this level. So when it comes to Mount Gulg, I enjoyed the extra fear. All right, we talked about that dread before entering a dungeon. I enjoyed that extra fear layered on top of that, because when you walk in this place, you're walking on fire, walking on lava, and it hurts you every time you do it. So now, not only when you get to a fork in the road, you're like, ah, man, do I go that way? I run into some monsters, who knows what's at the end of it. But not only that, but I got to chip away at my health to get there. So I really enjoyed that part of this, but look at the screen right now. Look at the focus of it. All right. Love it that it's encircled by a lake or a water or whatever, but then the mountain and the volcano in the middle, aesthetically awesome. And then if I press play, we're going to walk in. Look how cool that is. Come on. Fire always wins. So there you go. That is my choice for best level design.
Awesome.
Go ahead with your recap. Thank you.
I'm going to chime in as well. Surprising.
Oh yeah, baby. Go for it.
Not for best level design. But
okay.
This is going to be my pick for best music.
Ooh, dude, it is so good.
There's something about the Gulg theme. I think originally, because I first heard this theme in Final Fantasy IX, so going back to 1 and then hearing it, obviously there's that familiarity of it. But every version of that theme, whether it's the NES 8-bit version or the Pixel Remaster version, it's just there's just something about it that I really like. I don't know if it's the bass line, just the overlapping melodies, or just the journey it kind of takes you on. And when you compare it to the dungeon that you're going through, like you just explained, fearing for your health, not wanting to step on these lava tiles, but you have to step on these lava tiles. It's a nice bit of music just to kind of calm you down just a little bit.
All right. So eventually we reach a familiar room with a glowing red orb and a dim crystal floating above the altar of fire. Touching the orb summons Merilith. And we have our second
favorite battle.
Woo!
I knew somebody was going to pick this one. It's a good one.
Yeah. For also doing this with 4 white mages was extremely hard, but so rewarding after chipping away at it for so long. And because doing like 2 hit points every time, and like I love the battle theme for this as well. It's amazing, and just the design overall is it's really scary, and just being attacked with so much fire and trying to put so much defense on all my white mages, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. It's fine. Everything is going to be fine. But it was, as hard as it was just so rewarding when I finally took it down with all the white mages. So that was also the most memorable for me, I think, as well as my favorite.
Taking the canoe up another maze of rivers, we locate the Cavern of Ice. The dungeon features cracks in the ice that send us falling to the floor below.
And
my favorite level design.
Favorite level design.
Nice. Yeah.
I want to fight you on this one. Oh gosh, this is your favorite. I was going to nominate this jokingly as the worst dungeon in the game.
That's what people kept telling me. And I'm like, is it that bad? I don't know. But it was just, first of all, like I love ice areas, ice dungeons. Snow areas. It was very visually pleasing, first off. And with the cracks in the ice, I thought that was quite a fun, clever puzzle, I guess, trying to maneuver your way around and make sure you're on the right path. And, you fall a few times, but, you get back up again and you try again. But I thought that was quite clever with the cracks. So, yeah, that would be my best thing.
Like that.
I just found it so difficult. I genuinely, to this day, would argue that this is comparably difficult to the final dungeon relative to where you are, at least for the NES.
Oh, yeah.
There were so many enemies that they just one-hit kill you. It's not as a damage thing, but just, they have the ability to kill you insta-death. Then you have all the enemies turn you to stone. Oh, and then you have the Frost Wolves. Oh my gosh, the Frost Wolves casting Frost 2 on you and your HP. Like, I mean, this dungeon has just is so difficult in terms of
that fear, baby.
Death, turn you to stone, and sheer damage. Oh, and then you know what? If you haven't had enough fun with all of these enemies, let's have some holes in there that you randomly will fall through, and you got to figure this out on the fly. So you can go fight all these enemies over again.
But wait, there's more.
There's more.
Like, this dungeon is so hard. Like, I would understand if someone didn't like the game because they got to this point, they were just like, oh my god, to heck with this is too damn hard.
That is
Midnight Token.
I don't know if they lessened on the instant death enemies later on, but
Midnight Token in chat agrees with you, lady.
Stun is the thing that my daughter complained about the most. It's like, all my characters are just locked up.
Oh, no.
You get to just watch a slow death.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Brutal.
Yeah, this is a brutal dungeon. I like that choice, though. It kind of goes back to what I was saying about how it inflicts that fear and anxiety before you enter. And
it keeps pushing you to keep going. So.
Yeah, and like, did you? I mean, there's no shame in it or whatever. Did you look at a guide when you did it, or did you just kind of go through it?
No, I just went through it.
See, and that's it. Or you just like, I did the same thing where I'm just like,
try this way. Oh no, we'll try that way.
Whoops.
All right, so with the Levistone, we proceed to the Lycian Desert, where an ancient airship erupts from the sand. And for the first time, the party has full reign of the world's geography. This moment is an absolute triumph. A fantastic musical accompaniment, along with maximum freedom, gives players a sense of accomplishment and power. Not to mention, this thing really scoots. Yeah, I remember the first time I got in the airship and just took off, and I was like, whoa, my stuff is just going by so fast.
The way that you said that, Wiley, it almost sounded like that was an award speech right there.
Well,
was it?
I nominate this.
That could be a best moment. It could be a best. That's not what I wrote down.
Oh, it's not what he wrote down. Okay, no. I heard Jim and Molt.
This is my best moment.
Let me.
Also mine as well.
All right, let's take it to Jen first. Jen, so this is your best moment. Why is this your best moment?
I think it's just that sense of like scope. You've been on like a very narrow journey so far. You've got the ship. It's been very A to B almost, like going back and forth. But as soon as you get, and you've been going back and getting keys as well, like unlocking doors with the key. But this is the first time where I can go anywhere, anytime. I think just the moment, the way it's presented, even like on the Pixel Remaster, whatever version you're playing, just the airship racing through the sands and then just going out on your way and just going for it. It's just a pivotal moment. And it's a very, I would say it's a very cliche Final Fantasy moment, if that makes sense. You've got your airship, especially with the first 10 games. It's the airship moment, and it really hits on the first game.
Yeah, well said.
Dr. Molt, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I think just again for the perspective of NES, let's not forget how amazing this game is, that there is a map of a non-trivial size. You can go places. You can travel via different means. I mean, I'm not going to say that there aren't NES games that have this quality to some degree, but this is the standout. And this is the moment after the perils of the ice cave. You get the reward of the ability to fly anywhere in the world, drastically cuts down on the random encounters that you may not want to take. It's the harbinger of what's to come in terms of the promotion. So, I would argue, from here to the next step, I think it's a way easier from here through the next dungeon. So, to me, it's kind of almost once airship, then upgrade, instant. So, to me, it's this is where you get a huge power boost. And it's the moment that you're entering the late game. I actually think the late game is is easier than the previous part. So to me, like, everything's getting better here on out. It's definitely the moment that I would always look forward to when I would be playing through the game.
Absolutely. And to jump on that as well as my best moment as well. So I'm going to get it. So we got 3 awards for this moment. And as I type that in, we'll take it over to Wiley. For me, it's no matter how many times it happens in a Final Fantasy game, again, trying not to go into ahead of ourselves with Final Fantasy 1 and stuff like that. But like Jen said, man, this is a classic Final Fantasy moment. And no matter how many times it happens, it's so satisfying when you get the airship. So, yeah, it's a best moment for me as well. It was a tough one between this and something else, but I'll revisit that in a minute. Wiley, go for it. Take it away.
All right. It's time for another side quest. This is a big one. The Cardian Islands are home to Bahamut, king of the dragons. He offers a boon to those who prove themselves worthy. We must enter the Citadel of Trials, a maze of portals that ultimately leads to a very mundane item, a rat's tail. When this trinket is returned to Bahamut, he blesses us with titles befitting our valor.
Gotta interrupt again. I gotta interrupt again. So, you too, Lainey? So
me as well.
Bahamut, yes. That would be, coming across, meeting Bahamut was my favorite moment in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So my favorite Final Fantasy is 10, and one of the main things I loved about it was the summons, and Bahamut especially. And I feel like with Final Fantasy 1 introducing Bahamut as well, and to me anyway, when you think of the Final Fantasy series and think of the summons, Bahamut is always the first one that comes to my mind. And how he's the one that gives you that class change, and then your whole party levels up, and then you become stronger and bigger as well. And it was such a cool moment to see. I absolutely loved it.
Yes. And then Genesis, you also said this one?
This will be my best supporting character.
Yeah, they're nice.
Good call.
The reason being is, again, playing other Final Fantasies first, much like what Lainey said. Like, you're very familiar with Bahamut. I was expecting that we were going to fight Bahamut. I was expecting like some kind of what I've been used to. But he's a wise character. He's giving us an upgrade. He's a very much more down-to-earth Bahamut. And it surprised me.
Show Bahamut.
Yeah, it surprised me, and it was quite a pivotal character in the game. And it's also one you could completely miss.
Yep.
If I'm correct in saying that as well.
Completely optional, yeah. I agree, and that's also my best supporting character as well. I had listed Bahamut for those reasons you mentioned, but also when it comes to Bahamut, it was kind of cool to prove myself worthy to the Dragon King. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of cool when you walk in. If I remember correctly, I might be mistaken. I played a bunch of Final Fantasy. Is this when you walk in? Doesn't do the 2 dragons on the side just like Bahamut only talks to the to those worthy, to those worthy or something like that.
Long row of candles.
Yep.
And you're walking, it's really cool because there's no random battles. Like you just have to walk, and you walk this long path, and you start as you approach Bahamut's like throne or whatever. You start to see like the little like there's something scattered around, like the art kind of changes, and then all of a sudden they get the 2 dragons on the side. They're telling you that he only talks to those worthy, and then you approach him. Of course, you have to do the side quest. You got to get the rat tail and everything like that. But it was what Jen said, being an optional quest made it even better, right? Because it made me feel like I earned it now. Like, oh yeah, I am worthy of this. And the reward for that, like Lainey said, was to see your characters actually grow and mature. Because when you go into the sprites, when you look at the sprites in the menu, now they're master. They're what was the warrior? What did he become? Knight. All right. And then so you're looking at they changed your job classes. They made you look like you have become the Warriors of Light. Like now you're fitting of the name, and it was just kind of like a cool growth moment that I like to see in any Final Fantasy, really, to see the character or any story. I love to see a story change the character. And have an impact on the character. So this was really cool, and the fact that it was optional was definitely like, oh, I went out and I proved myself to the Dragon King. So that was why I was really, really like, man, this is also at the same time one of the best moments in the game. But the airship, I think, takes it. So
this is my favorite moment.
There it is. Somebody had to put it out there. I'm glad you did, man.
This is it's the most noteworthy moment of growth, like you said, for the heroes. It's their moment of apotheosis. We gain access to new equipment, abilities, costume changes that look dope. I mean, like, this is everything you want out of the late game, all in one quest, and you get it from Bahamut. Like, this is just iconic to me. So this is my best moment right here.
Awesome. Sounds like to me.
What's that?
Sounds like Bahamut is the warrior of hype.
Hey, that might be
right. You got this whole walk up there. He's going to take you from being a little kids to being these adults. He is the warrior of hype in this game.
Dr. Molt, there can only be one warrior of hype. All right, I will take Bahamut down. All right,
I'm going to say that
destroy Bahamut. Okay,
only because you have reflect.
Maybe. I'm going to say Bahamut is the courier of hype. He delivers.
I love that.
Delivers the hype through, the class upgrade. In the Waterfall Cave, we find a robot programmed by the Lufenians. Provides us with a warp cube, which allows us to access the Mirage Tower. Was anyone else pleasantly surprised by the robot in Final Fantasy 1? Right.
Seeing her, this is when the story's like, you're learning about sky people. You're learning a little bit more, like this is what I was trying to say about how the history unfolds in an interesting way for me. I actually think they did a pretty good job with the story, and I think it is a very interesting world. So yeah, seeing robots coming out of nowhere. Now we're getting closer to this ancient civilization who had robots. So they were a little more advanced. Of course, nowadays when I say that, you're like, yeah, that's Final Fantasy. but yeah, I mean, there we go.
And actually, the Sunken Shrine, that's going to be my nomination for Best Music.
Ooh, Best Music.
Believe it or not, yeah. There's sort of this like melancholy vibe to it, right? And the reason that that's significant is because we encounter mermaids here. And everybody that's in the town above, they're checking like, oh, do you have legs? And, there's like this whole vibe of like something happened here. Don't really get the full story. But there's this vibe that something happened. And all the mermaids are like way down in the sub-basement where you get the Rosetta Stone. And it's just like this, I don't know, it's the same sort of feeling you get with the Lufenians where there's this ancient civilization that was just sort of like steamrolled over. And I don't know, I like the music. Bringing the Rosetta Stone to the scholar Une in Melmond allows him to teach us the Lufenian language. Now it's time to visit Lufenia, aka Eagle's Wing. Did anyone notice that the northeast continent is actually shaped like a giant bird?
Yep.
And that's where Eagle's Wing and Eagle's Eye come from.
Yeah.
So we travel.
I picked up on that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, check out the map.
Check out the world map, yeah.
Looks like a giant bird with a beak and wings. It's kind of cool.
It is. From there, we travel to Lufenia to discover Tiamat's attempt to destroy their civilization. The Lufenian tells us, we came to believe there was another entity controlling the four fiends. To ascertain its location, we sent out 5 warriors. But much time has passed since we heard from them. I hope no harm has befallen them. This is an interesting parallel to the 4 warriors of light plus Garland, who has the dark crystal. This, combined with Lucan's prophecy that the cycle of death will continue to plague the world, almost seems like a cheeky reference to players who don't finish the game, or even the idea that we can replay the game as many times as we want, starting the cycle anew. Not to mention a time loop reference.
Also, to jump in, the first person you talk to in Lithuania says that the airship was built by their people, the Lithuanians, but mentions it was built by Sid, and of course this was added in later, so it was not in the NES version. It's the only Final Fantasy that did not have Sid until it was added in later.
Yes. We are given a chime, which is used to enter the Mirage Tower. Inside, a robot stands watch over the teleportation pad. Use the warp cube to activate it and reach the flying fortress. And this is my favorite level design. High above the clouds, we locate the legendary Adamantite. Have a chance to encounter War Mech. This enemy begins the long tradition of optional super bosses that are often harder than the final boss. There's an observation window we can use to look down over the entire world, and it reveals the colored mists from the 4 elemental shrines are converging at a single point. So we've got War Mech, we've got this parallax effect of seeing the world below us and the clouds below us. We've got the observation window, we've got Tiamat, we've got Adamantite. We've got so much stuff going on in this dungeon. That's my favorite level design. And War Mech is going to be my best battle too, so let's just 2 for 1 that right now.
Wow.
That's my best battle as well.
Yeah. Nice.
So War Mech, obviously, just because of the challenge is that for that because of that Yeah,
I'm going to say just pure pucker factor. First encounter. After you fight this thing the first time, you're dreading seeing this thing ever again.
So I also have War Mech, but for a slightly different reason. For me, it's War Mech's bridge. It's not even the fight itself as much as the dread. If you play through the game once, you know it can happen. Then every bloody time you're on that last bridge, it's just a one-dimensional row, 1 pixel all the way through. Every step, there's a chance you're going to fight War Mech, and he'll probably kick your ass and take you out. You will not get to Tiamat, such that.
And you're talking NES, where you have to start from the freaking inn that you saved.
Yeah, you just have to start right again.
So War Mech is such a low percentage to even fight this thing, and then and then you do fight him, and then if you're you just get so unlucky that you somehow get War Mech on your first run through this thing, and you're like, wait, what am I supposed to do? I gotta level up even more or something. But then you're just the next 100 times you're like, oh, I've never seen him again.
So to me, it's not even the battle; it's the fear of War Mech's bridge.
Absolutely. Yep. I clinch every time I walk over that bridge.
I think for me, it's a little bit different than War Mech because getting the platinum trophy for this one, obviously you need to complete the bestiary, so you need to be actively searching for him. So it's more of the journey of trying to find him. But for me personally, I've been incredibly lucky with his appearance rate. It usually happens within the first handful of times. So it's just that exhilaration of just hey, I've got him. I don't need to worry. It's the opposite way around. It's I've found him, I've beat him, and I don't need to worry about him now.
And Flying Fortress was your best level design?
Yeah, I mean, it's a flying freaking fortress for starters. It's so out there from what we've experienced before. We've had the little touches with the robot in the waterfall cave and stuff like that, so we're aware of this civilization, but now we're actually in it. We've got the teleport pads to go between each map as well, and it's just a build up. I think it's a pretty cool damn dungeon.
Love that. Yeah,
absolutely.
And then fighting Tiamat at the end, I mean, just really cool too. I think Tiamat at this point was so. I think I said earlier on that after Elfheim, it just seemed like it was really easy. The rest of the game was the bosses, I take them down pretty easy. We're good to go. I was pretty leveled up there. But getting the Tiamat, I think I even made a note. I was like, oh, Tiamat made me sit up in my chair a little bit. I had to I was like, all right, hold on a second. I gotta figure out what I'm doing here. it might have been I might have got a game over. I feel like I might have got a game over on Tiamat, and I was like, oh snap! All right, it was kind of a wake up call. So I did like that, kind of getting to Tiamat. Also, Tiamat has not been taken off her lofty perch in Wheel of Final Fantasy, and hashtag bring it back. Yeah, for those who know. All right, so I got you all locked in. The only thing left is Impact Innovation. I'm sure we'll talk about that after the recap.
Oh no, I don't have my I don't have my dungeon choice yet.
No, okay, I meant for Genesis. Yep, Genesis locked in. What was that, Lainey? Did you?
Oh, no, I was just saying that I still had my music to go.
Oh, okay.
Tossing in my head of which one to pick. It's a hard decision.
Okay, so we face off against Tiamat. Restore the last orb. It's time to complete the final side quest. We bring the adamantite to Smith, and he crafts the legendary sword Excalibur. Now there's only one thing left to do. With the fiends defeated, the crystals restored, sages at Crescent Lake advise us to return to the point at the center of the 4 temples, the Chaos Shrine.
Back where it all began.
That's right. It's come full circle.
There's my favorite music, the Chaos Shrine.
This is my second. Yeah.
I was tossing up between this and the Western Keep. I am a big fan of just string instruments and just like it's hard to describe. Like music is just so beautiful because when I first walked in there, I just stopped, and I still remember that reaction. I just was looking at my chat and like, are you guys listening to this? Like it was just absolutely stunning, and it's one of the tracks that I go back to listen to quite frequently because I find it quite calming, even though it's named the Chaos Shrine. But that theme in particular, especially in the Pixel remaster, just makes me feel at ease and at peace, and I love it. It's great.
When we arrive, we discover a black crystal and present our 4 elemental crystals before it. Time and space warp, opening a portal to 2,000 years in the past. As we proceed through the ensuing dungeon, come to a stone tablet. We're prompted to use the loot that Sarah gave us at the beginning of the game. So we must descend further and further, defeating all 4 fiends in the past. Eventually, we reach a magnificent chamber decorated with pillars and statues. There we find none other than Garland himself. He still loves monologuing. Yeah.
So before we get to the ending, the Temple of Fiends in the past is my nomination for the best dungeon. Ooh. And the Temple of Fiends in the past is honestly in the running as one of the best in the franchise for me. And for a few reasons. One, it is hard as heck. Oh my gosh, the gas dragons, the frost dragons, the fire dragons, they will murder you. They are very hard. It's well done in the, you go through an area which is representative of each of the 4 dungeons, of the 4 fiends through which that you're fighting through the game. And I think an even better aspect of the level design, you don't know when you're going to have to fight the fiends all over again. You don't know when it's coming. You don't know. I mean, eventually you start to see a little bit of a pattern, but that just adds to the terror all the more. These aren't just the enemies you fought in the original dungeons. It's like the souped-up versions of them. You're going to get, way higher frequency of the dragons casually. You can casually get 4 frost, so you have 4 fire dragons, whereas when you play through Derpy Volcano, like, you might get, 1 or 2 or something. So they're upping the ante. You don't know when you're going to hit the fiend. Mm-hmm. Also, I think it's a really cool little thing about the bats.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
I think that it's something you can miss. I did not notice this for the longest time, but the bats are the original warriors of light, and this is their bloody fate. And that should add a little bit of a chilling effect to the dungeon as you're going through. That you keep going. This is what happened to us. But hey, you've got that medieval instrument, I'm sure.
Right, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
You're gonna...
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have a lute, so that's why we're bats now.
That's why they're bats.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that the resource conservation is huge here. This is very, very hard. And I think one of the coolest things is that you can get the most powerful weapon in the game here, but it's a real choice if you want to go get it, because it requires you to go a very great distance to go get it. And honestly, if I play the game casually, I don't go get it. It's not worth the random encounters, at least on the NES version back in the day. It's not worth the risk of the random encounters that I'm going to get 4 gas dragons or kick my butt or whatever. Not worth the risk to get a better weapon. Just blitz toward exactly what Wiley's about to say next.
Nope. All right. Yes, we find Garland. He's monologuing again, and he tells us that the 4 fiends use their power in the present to send him to the past, where he created a time loop, sending them back to the future.
Ha! Ha! I wonder if that was popular at the time this game was made. Okay.
So this time loop effectively makes him immortal and traps the heroes in an endless cycle where they are confronted by the Demon King Chaos. Plot twist, Garland is Chaos. Prepare for the ultimate showdown.
Yeah, he is.
Transition, wow.
Look at
Yeah.
I love how the timed up perfectly with your recap. Even as you die again and again, I shall return, born again into this endless cycle that I have created.
Yes.
Yeah.
A fun fact. So a garland is a wreath or a circle that represents continuity and the cyclical nature of life, which is the perfect name for a villain whose entire scheme is a time loop.
It's a cycle. Everything that you've learned about the battle system is kind of in this fight. And I wish that there were more battles like this. It feels like this is the first time that I was like thinking ahead of what was next. I'm thinking like I have to plan ahead. I have to use the turn-based system exactly the way this boss needs me to do it. I just really like you got to worry about haste. You got to worry about all these other things to do. So I love chaos. The battle music accompanying this. So in this case, even though my best music was main theme, I will also put the final battle music from Pixel Remaster enhancing this battle, like to make this battle even better. So this is my favorite battle in the game.
Time loop is severed. We are treated to the ending.
Mm-hmm.
None will ever recall the struggle the 4 endured, for the breaking of the chains means that it never existed. But within the tales of fantasy that people tell, the memory of their deeds lives on. Remember always that the forces of the world must be used as they were intended, that the power of light must never be used for dark, and that the true crystals reside in your heart. For you are the warriors that cross time. You are the bringer of light. Obviously, the implication here is the players are the only ones who will remember the heroes. Yeah. And we're the real bringers of light. So the final meta reference closes out the game, and we're sort of encouraged to carry this light into our own lives and invited to return whenever we want to revisit the heroes and their adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And this for me is the impact moment right here.
Yeah, this is your impact moment? Okay.
This is my impact moment right here, is the ending. Sort of meta narrative in the ending, and just kind of that, it's kind of in your face as themes go, right? Like, as time goes on, people get better at writing themes into stories where they're a little bit more subtle or use subtext, but I like this, It's sort of, from the beginning, it's in your face that you're making these choices, you're naming these characters, and then you get little hints and references and jokes throughout the game, but then it closes the same way. And for me, I just thought that was awesome. Just a cool little piece of storytelling and a nice, tool to put the theme through.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do like that. And we can also see that, we can also see that kind of meta narrative idea continuing through Final Fantasy even today. So that's really cool, man. So I wasn't expecting the ending to be your impact thing. That's awesome. So all right, guys, we have finally come to the conclusion of the story recap here. Once again, Wiley, awesome job. Thank you so much for doing that. Recapping this entire game. Thank you so much for that. I think we are left off on. Let me go through the awards real quick. So yeah, I got my best supporting character as Bahamut. Best moment, getting the airship. Best battle, chaos. 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 I'm here to kill chaos. I don't know what it is. It's like a hunger or thirst. But I need to kill chaos. Okay. Best level design. Chaos!
Where's chaos?
Where's chaos? I don't give a who you are. I mean, it's so great. I love that. It's a lich. Best level design, Mount Gulg. Best music, main theme. Impact innovation. I haven't come up with that yet. It's, I kind of left this blank because the easiest answer is Final Fantasy.
Us. But us.
Yeah.
In this room.
Yeah,
that's true. Like us, the fandom. Yeah, a fandom.
Yeah.
Established
That's
a fandom.
I love the meta. Absolutely.
Yeah, and
this is what started it all, because, as Square was struggling and it was going to be their final game, and then look at it now. So many installments, so many spin-offs, and so, there are conventions where people cosplay so many Final Fantasy characters, or people that do covers.
What losers would do that? Sorry.
Different songs, there are covers, and, people have said to me, and I am one of those people as well, is that Final Fantasy sometimes, some of the games, or maybe just one of the games, has saved them through a very, helped them through a very dark time, and continue to do so. And they might just go back to the soundtrack. They might play it once every year. They might read on the story or find little bits of lore that maybe they missed along the way growing up. And I absolutely love that, because this series is means so much to me. So yeah, I'm very grateful for it.
Well, that's awesome. Well, that's why I'm so happy to have you on the show, Lainey, because I can see that passion and love that you have for Final Fantasy. It resonates in the content you make, and what you just said. That's awesome. So your impact was. How would you describe what would that be, just the fandom, like creating or the start of it all, or
because sometimes, I mean, with this with Final Fantasy 1, or any game really, you don't know how it's going to go until the public receive it and try it out, and it just impacted so many people. And as the series went on, they changed the battle systems. They tried experimenting. It wasn't just the same thing over and over and over again. And I always say that there's a Final Fantasy out there for everyone.
Yeah,
people might have multiple ones. I have my top 5, and I have the one that I always go back to, which is Final Fantasy X. But this one, when I played it, and always thinking in the back of my mind, this is where it all started. This is what started off the journey, and I really recommend this one to people that want to try it out, especially the Pixel remasters.
Yeah.
The music and the visuals is just beautiful, but there's that option if people want to try the other versions as well. So yeah. It's really awesome. Yeah.
Well said.
You will go do the single white wizard.
The single white wizard?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, there is a challenge to do just one white mage.
No.
Oh, don't tempt me.
No, don't. Oh God, no.
Oh wow.
That would suck so bad.
Is there any evidence this can be done? Is this even feasible?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yes. You can
Really?
Gee.
I mean, it's actually not quite as awful as you might think, only in that if you do the class change, so you can do the class change before you fight Kari the Fiend of Fire, because you can go to the Ice Cave first, then go have the floater, then go get the airship, then go to the Castle of Ordeals, become a white wizard. So then at the very least, now you're fighting as a white wizard instead of a white mage against Kari.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this is easy, but I'm just saying it's not.
You're giving me ideas.
I mean, if you just keep spamming invisible over and over, I mean, you eventually avoid being hit. Eventually.
And then we go to, here we go. Genesis 7. Your best supporting character was Bahamut. Best moment, getting the airship. Best battle was the war mech. Best level design, Flying Fortress. Best music, Mount Gulg. What was the impact? What was the impact of Final Fantasy?
Okay, I don't know how to. I don't know what term to use, so allow me to explain it, and maybe I'll be able to pick like a definition of what I'm trying to explain. So, again, like I've mentioned, like this wasn't the first Final Fantasy I came from. I played 7, 8, 9, 10, and then went to 1.
Yeah.
So for me, what I really enjoyed about it, and us talking about it as well, has made me reflect a little bit more, is just the freedom of choice. Now, I know that we have that in every Final Fantasy to a certain degree, but the ones I played prior, they were named characters, they already had backgrounds, and they were already put in their own like niche with what kind of class they were, I guess you could say. But this was the first one that I played where I had the choice. Like, I had the choice, and I had not just at the beginning of the game, I had the choice throughout the game. Like, getting the airship, I had the choice of what to do next. Even though there was the A to B and the NPCs telling you where to go, it was very much my story as opposed to the Warriors of Light story. So I don't know what word we can pick from that explanation, but just from what I came from those PlayStation 1 titles to going back to this one, just being able to have more choice in it than I had prior.
Agency,
yeah, player agency.
Yeah,
I knew that.
That's honestly, that's why I love the meta narrative, is because it reinforces that there's this relationship between you, the player, and the characters in the game. And as the series goes on, right, the stories are thicker, the plot's thicker, the characters are sort of already these, like you said, they're sort of pre-baked archetypes, and so you're experiencing their story. And in Final Fantasy 1, you're kind of experiencing your own story, right? You're kind of building it and then experiencing it.
Yeah. And Dr. Molt, best supporting character, the Dark Elf Astos. Best moment, getting the airship. Best battle, war mech. Best level design, Temple of the Fiends from the past. I think I'll find the technical, like the actual name of that, or is that the actual name of it? Temple of the Fiends? Is it Temple of the Fiends?
The NES version is Temple of the Fiends.
Gotcha.
It's called something different.
It probably is.
It's the Chaos Shrine.
It probably is, like Chaos Shrine Past or something, Temple of Chaos Past. Best music, Town Theme. Love that choice. Impact, innovation. What was the impact of Final Fantasy for you?
I'm going to choose to be insolent and irreverent and say it led to FF7.
I love that. I love that.
There's really no higher point for me than that. Those two games are about the highest it gets. So I've been sufficiently serious talking about all the great things I think it's led to and standard bearing on NES. So to hell with all that, it led to FF7.
We got FF7.
We got 7.
Did I get a heal?
Oh God! I think I'm going to close it out with that little thing. For people watching, there's we'll see what happens. All right, so now this would be the point of the show when we would go into the rankings. All right, so since this is
time to deliberate.
Yeah. So this is the first episode in the Final Fantasy reviewed and ranked series that we're doing here on Final Fantasy TV. And the way that it works is that every episode we will do a ranking, and we would do, all right, where does this place in the grand scheme of things? And we would have, obviously, for first episode, Final Fantasy 1 is at the number 1 spot right now. When the episode 2 comes around, we will have a cool little display up with the rankings, and you'll see exactly what's happening. But for now, Final Fantasy 1 automatically ends up at the top by default. So when we play Final Fantasy 2, we'll figure out where it lands. So as far as the main series, there's nothing to talk about. But the OST, were you guys pleasantly surprised by the OST for Final Fantasy 1? Is this something that you think is going to hang in there? We don't have to do any comparisons, but do you think it's going to hang in there as we get further into the series?
I think if we keep looking at the Pixel remaster version of it, it brought a whole new life for me personally to the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed.
I agree too. Yeah.
I guess it is the objective that we focus on the music unto itself as best we can, versus I feel like I will end up picking musical choices that are tied to a poignant moment in a story. You know what I mean?
Like that. Yeah.
So I guess I suppose, are we trying to divorce ourselves from how the music may be used in the stories and try to just focus on the musical property itself? Or?
I think we take everything into consideration. So like when it's OST, obviously when you're listening to it, if you're a listener who's never heard of Final Fantasy before, does it sound great? Cool. If it's something that has a deep personal connection to it, oh yeah, that's even better. That's even like if it's something that makes you instantly think of a scene and then you either have some sort of emotional reaction to it, that's awesome.
Me a lot of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
right? And that's
sometimes I'll feel like crying, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, this is just the shrine theme, or it's the world theme. Why do I feel like bursting into tears? It's happened in other games, like Dragon Quest, for example, going into like being able to go out to sea, the ocean theme. That's literally all we're doing. And then I just feel like sobbing. And that's how powerful music is.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy.
That's awesome that the Chaos Shrine is that, like, is that for you as well? So like,
that's what it still hits me now. So.
Yeah, man, listening to it, I can definitely sense that. Like I can hearing those strings instruments come in. It definitely always hits hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful track, honestly.
Yeah. And Chaos is in the middle, like, I'm going to destroy everything. Like, why is this playing? Like,
let me just enjoy the music.
Yeah.
Relax over there for a second.
So yeah, I think the OST is going to hang in there, as far as like Jen said, Pixel Remaster will carry this thing. And I'm really interested to see where this goes, man, because, just a spoiler for next episode, but like Final Fantasy 2, so good as well. So, I guess my plan before the next episodes will be to listen to the soundtracks and just kind of be like, all right, which is better? That's going to be, I feel like that might be harder than the series rank. Like, where does the OST rank? And then, it's
but I guess here's another question. Do you take just the best? In other words, do you judge it by the best? Or is it the average of everything? Like, for example, if you ask me, in my opinion, FF8 has some amazing music and some really awful. Like, I think that one has much more of an extreme as opposed to, I feel like,
a lot of ups and downs.
I don't know, does that factor? Like, is it just, hey, you've got some tracks that mean the world to me and that's what really counts?
It's got to be like, fair. It's got to be like, hey, does that outweigh the ones that don't? Yeah. Like, so it's got to, so you got to take everything into consideration when it comes to the OST. That's why it's going to be so fun to have that conversation, because you have to take it all into the whole package deal. And I mean, if it's standout pieces of music that trump the rest of the like, oh man, the lulls of this album, it's still fine. Like, these are the best tracks in the game. But anyways, that is going to be a fun conversation for when we start to have to actually rank them. And then, of course, from there, let me know what you guys think in chat, in comments. Is there something else? Because now's the time to do it as we get into the next episode that's really going to start to matter, where what rankings are established. Is there an award that we missed? Because that would be awesome if you guys can chime in. Is there an award that you're like, hey, I think you should have recognized this? And this, of course, can be retroactive. Like, we can go back and do that, like, say the final episode, episode 16. Maybe we have a 17 right before the award show, and we'll retroactively do anything that we missed. If there's something that you're like, no way you missed this, we'll put it in there for you. So, yeah, and of course, when Final Fantasy X, we get to their best performance and stuff like that, it's going to happen, but obviously doesn't do anything for FF1. Unless you're talking about my beautiful performance of Chaos. Because I can see why he wanted to say it so many times. Like, I can get that. If you just let it happen right now, Lainey, let it happen. Chaos.
Chaos.
Chaos. Yeah, Jen. Chaos.
Chaos.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's way better.
He got into the mic.
Oh.
He got into the mic. Hold on. Chaos.
Can't follow that.
Oh, I can't do that. Chaos. No, let me hear it again, Jen.
Chaos.
Oh, so good,
That is
dude.
perfect.
Love it. Love it. I can see why he wants to say it so many times. It's good. All right. So I think we've come to the end of this video. I think we've come to the end. I want to say a big thank you to my panel here. Lainey, thank you so much. Jen, thank you. Dr. Molt, thank you so much for being here, bringing that energy as always. Wiley, thank you for everything that you put into the recap and everything like that. Really appreciate it, guys. Before I let you guys go, let's do one more time. Lainey, where can people find you?
You can find me at Lady Marie on twitch.tv. I am basically Lady Marie on all platforms, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And yeah, my schedule for streaming is a bit up in the air because I am also studying at the moment. So yeah, just if you want some comfy times with us with talking about all things nostalgia, JRPGs, Final Fantasies, then I'm your girl.
Love that. Genesis 7. Chaos.
You can find Chaos. You can find me. You can find me on various platforms. No, you can find me on here on YouTube at Genesis 7. You can find me over at Twitter, Genesis 7, Twitch as well. For content-wise, I'm currently trying to get every single platinum of Final Fantasy, slow and steadily.
Nice.
It's just a nice little side hustle. I'm also going through the Dragon Quest series for the first time at the moment, so I've done one, I've done 2, I've done 4, I've done 5, I'm doing 6 at the moment, and I'm going to be doing 3 when it comes out in November. And then I think once that's all cleared, I'm going to be doing 8.
That's
hold on. Does this include the FF9 jump rope thing?
Sorry?
Oh, God.
Is this, you said you want to platinum all these, does this include the FF9 jump rope thing?
I've got 9.
He did it.
It was chaos.
It was chaos.
1,000 jump
I could never do that. I could never.
Well, I'll be brutally honest. I did not do that legitimately because I do not have the patience.
Nor should you. Nor should you.
I legitimately tried. I got to like 654 or something like that, and I was like, nah.
Why would they put that in the platinum, dude? Like, why would they do that?
1,000. Like, I can't even do 10.
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, I'm with you, lady. I'm with you.
Oh man! All right, Dr. Molt. I know you don't have anywhere people can find you, but
no, I can't be found.
You cannot be found.
I got a cloaking device. You cannot find me.
After the show, you go 2,000 years into the past, and that's it. You're gone.
Well, that depends on if I can find my loot or not. I mean, I'm worried I just brought a fife instead. Obviously, a fife can't do that.
X.
And Wiley, we know. Let's say it one more time. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, just at the JD Wiley.
That's right.
Right now, that's the best spot
for great art. And you can also find him here on Final Fantasy TV's Final Fantasy Reviewed and Ranked, as Wiley will be sticking with us. Very excited about that. Yeah. All right, y'all. So there it is. I'm going to close this thing out with an ending video for you. So.
Oh, God. Enjoy.
Take care now.
Bye, you want to see this, people.
All right, time to choose my job class. Got a fighter, which will be later known as the warrior. Thief, black belt, monk, red mage, white mage, and black mage. You know what? I'm gonna do the noble thing here and be the healer. Someone's gotta keep you guys alive, right?
Bro, yes. Love me a robe. No chafing, maximum airflow, toga party.
Wait, 2 white mages? Well, I don't want to be left out, so yes, I'll go white mage too. Can't hurt what they can't hit, right?
Okay. So, just to clarify, we've got 3 white mages?
Yup, triple the heals, baby!
Hit me? Blink and you'll miss me, all right.
But what if we, need someone to actually attack?
Yo, you see this mallet? It's hammer time, baby. Besides, with Protect, they can't touch this.
Not to mention that late game holy whoopoosh! Oh man, bro, we're gonna be just fine.
I'll blink more than a broken traffic light.
Wait, you're not thinking of abandoning the team dynamic, are you?
Yeah, think about it. 4 white mages. Enemies will be shaking in their boots.
Yeah, will be super terrifying. The Band-Aid Brigade.
I'll blink so many times that people will think I have chronic dry eye.
Aw, come on. Don't ruin the vibe. White mage, white mage, white mage,
White mage, white mage, white mage.
Fine, fine. I'll be a white mage.
Can I get a heal yield?
Blink
Just
for the win.
stop.
Oh my god. I just had the weirdest dream.